Hello, everyone. Hope you're refreshed after the break. So as Marie-Cécile mentioned, in this session, we're going to present the work that is being done within EU JAMRAI to ensure sustainable and reliable access to antibiotics and veterinary vaccines across Europe. And our focus is on implementing concrete and targeted interventions that span the product life cycle. So I'm going to take you through an introduction to outline our work and highlight our progress and process, some key achievements, and the path forward. And then we will hear from other speakers that will dive into a few concrete examples on how EU JAMRAI is driving progress in this area. So not the black button, I remember. Let me see. So to guide our work on access within EU JAMRAI, we have two aims that we strive for. First, we aim to make concrete progress on strengthening access to focused antibiotics and veterinary vaccines in participating countries and at the European level. And second, we recognize that collaboration is key. No single entity can address these complex challenges alone. That's why we are committed to developing and establishing strong partnerships within and across borders, disciplines, and sectors. And we are continuously working in close collaboration with national implementing authorities, European bodies, and other key stakeholders. And we also wanted to take the opportunity to explain and clarify what we mean when we are talking about strengthening access. So our focus is on strengthening the everyday supply of antibiotics and veterinary vaccines, so the everyday market. And we take a proactive and broad approach to this. And we are working to minimize shortages, both short-term disruptions and long-term gaps in supply. So we want to note that our work is not focused on solving shortages during the acute phase when they have arisen already. We also work to regain products that are no longer authorized or were never authorized in the first place. And we are working to strengthen access to products that, while authorized, are not actively marketed by the companies and thus remain out of reach for those who need them. So now I will present how we are working to improve access to antibiotics and veterinary vaccines. So we currently have 16 countries actively engaged in this process, and it's the turquoise countries on this map. So first, we are sharing available evidence and experiences related to access. For example, we organize webinars and provide resources. And this approach allows countries to learn from each other and others and adopt best practices. And participating countries have identified clinically important antibiotics and veterinary vaccines with a national vulnerable supply that we refer to as focus products, and they focus on these within EU JAMRAI to strengthen access to them. So the identification of these products is based on an assessment of national clinical needs, national vulnerability, and resistance situation. And this was informed by consultations with relevant stakeholders and data analysis, and finalized in spring 2024. And both the list of focus products and the webinars are available on the JAMRAI website if you're interested. And then, for each identified product in each country, countries have conducted an analysis of the national barriers impacting sustainable access. And this was also done through engagement with national key stakeholders, such as pharmaceutical associations, regulators, and clinicians across both sectors, as well as looking at relevant data. And this was finalized last year. And this analysis has uncovered important insights into the main national barriers, and understanding them is crucial to take informed decisions and designing effective solutions. So the barriers mainly fall into a few categories, and we have tried to compile some of the main barriers that many countries have in common to give you an idea of what challenges that we are working with. So first, we have economic barriers, such as low sale and low unit price, which gives the companies very low margins for these products. And it may also be hard to increase the price in some countries. We have regulatory barriers, such as the product not being registered on the market anymore. There may be time-consuming regulatory processes or national packaging requirements that are burdensome. We have barriers related to manufacturing and supply, such as there may be few API producers. And there are also barriers relating to the use and demand of the product. For instance, that different strengths, duration, and doses are recommended for the same infection, and that could further split up small markets that have similar needs. It could also be that the product is not included in dedicated lists of reimbursed medicines, or included in specific guidelines. And last but not least, one important barrier is that there seems to be a lack of communication and collaboration between important stakeholders in this area. And as I have mentioned, this is something that we are trying to address throughout our process. And from fall 2025, and for the rest of the joint action, our main focus is on developing and working on implementing tailor-made interventions. This could be at the national, regional, and European levels, as Marie-Cécile mentioned. And we want to address these identified barriers and strengthening access to the focus products. And of course, there's not one single intervention that can solve all of these problems, but we need different types. Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay, I'm back. Yeah, we need different types of interventions along the product life cycle. And these interventions must be adapted to the specific characteristics of the product, as well as the unique national barriers in the context. Oh, okay, I said that. Yes. Let me see. And the interventions that countries are working on, they mainly fall into the following categories that you will see soon. And they align very well, of course, with the identified barriers. So we have regulatory interventions. It could be about enabling marketing authorization for older antibiotics. We have joint procurement. We have packaging and harmonization efforts, which could contribute to bigger markets and more unified markets. We have reimbursement and pricing strategies, such as working to get the product on the list of reimbursed medicines or increasing prices. And we also have communication and collaboration efforts, such as formalizing collaboration in countries on the technical level. And exactly like the previous steps, countries will actively engage with their key stakeholders throughout this process to ensure that these interventions are feasible, effective, and sustainable. And as you previously heard in January, we are aligning our efforts with the 2023 Council recommendation on AMR. And this is, of course, also true for our work on access, where we, as I have explained, address the accessibility of effective antimicrobials by identifying barriers and implementing tailored solutions in member states. And to make our work, to make sure our work is sustained beyond the joint action, we'll do many things, but one key thing is that each country that is participating in this work will document their efforts and experiences in a final national report. And this report is a key deliverable for us, and it will serve two main purposes. So first, it will serve as a practical tool for knowledge sharing with countries not involved in EU JAMRAI or countries not involved in this particular work on access within EU JAMRAI, as it will contain detailed descriptions of the results and from all the steps of the process, and also the process itself. So the product selection procedure, how they identified barriers, and the work on designing and implementing interventions, including the stakeholder collaboration throughout the process. So this enables non-participants to learn from the experiences gained and to implement similar solutions through a similar process if they wish. And second, it will serve as a roadmap for national governments and decision makers, as it will outline recommendations on how to sustain and expand efforts beyond the joint action when it comes to access. So this will include implementation plans with future steps such as budgets, legal consideration, and stakeholder roles, etc. But now it's time to illustrate our work in a more concrete way after this introduction. And we will highlight 3 examples of how countries are working to overcome barriers and improve access to their focus products. So first we will hear from Signe, Miang, Jensen, who will share an example of Nordic collaboration from Denmark. Second, we will hear from Alban, Dhanani, who will share a national example from France. And finally, we'll hear from Cristina Madero, who will share an example of multi-country collaboration from Spain. So with that, I welcome Signe up on stage. Welcome, Signe.
Okay, first I'll say I really want to press that button, the black one, but I promise I'm well behaved. So I know that no means no, so of course I'll not do it. Instead, I will present this Danish initiative that is based upon our barrier analysis. And here it is. We wish to keep phenoxypenicillin or penicillin V on the market in Denmark and hopefully also in Europe. And why did we choose penicillin V? Well, in Denmark we have this saying that a loved child has many names, and penicillin V, phenoxymetyl penicillin, pen V, has definitely many names and is really loved in Denmark and also in the Nordic countries. And we, as you can see here, this is the total Danish consumption from our really prestigious DANMAP surveillance program, showing that in primary care, phenoxymetyl penicillin is the most used drug. And we use it for many different infections. Of course, we ask first, treat afterwards. So, but we use it for community-acquired pneumonia, among others. Oh, and this last one. So you might ask, if this product is one of your most used products, then why are you concerned? Why do you believe it has a vulnerable supply? We looked at this product because it's our most used, so we really wish to keep it. And during our barrier analysis, we discovered these 4 barriers. We knew, of course, that we are a small market since Denmark is not that big, which means we have low consumption. But this is not only due to the number of patients, but also due to strong efforts in infection prevention and control and antimicrobial stewardship. So we have a small market size, we have low consumption, we have a decreasing European use of phenoxy, and we have this diverse availability of the drug. Well, you could see that as a strength, having many different possibilities to treat. So if one of the products are being withdrawn, then you can just choose the other one. But it's important to say that for products like phenoxy, the production mechanisms, or in order to make the product sustainable, the industry needs to produce big volumes. Those big volumes we cannot, due to our low consumption and smaller market size, buy. So we see that this product could risk to be more vulnerable than we anticipated. So what we fear is that in the future, industry will withdraw products. So it's industry. It will be an industry decision which product we have available, and we really wish that it's the clinicians that have a saying on that. Yeah, the green button. So we have this diverse availability, and we also have a diverse or fragmented demand across Scandinavia. We do not recommend the same dosages or administration times or durations across Scandinavia, even though we do agree on which product we would like to use for the same indications. We would like to use phenoxy, but we do not agree on how to use it. And is that due to behavior? We do what we always did, or is it because of availability? We can see that the availability across Europe for dosages of phenoxy is really diverse, and in Denmark too. And this Swedish platform, collaboration platform called Platinea, did map the phenoxymetyl penicillin availability across 4 Nordic countries last year, and they saw that within the 4 biggest Nordic countries, we have 10 different strengths available and 41 different pack sizes, where 8 of them are sold in more than one Nordic country. So this really demands the industry to produce different things which do not correspond well with a sustainable production. And we also asked companies if our intervention would have some kind of benefits, and they came back with a positive response, so we'll see. So these are the barriers we found, and it all means small volumes, so we really need to create a bigger volume. We cannot do that in Denmark alone. We need to do it across the Nordic countries combined, and hopefully by telling it here, more countries will be on board. Come and find me later if you wish to do that. So in order to make the clinicians choose which products needs to be available, we thought that a Nordic harmonization of dosage recommendations would be the best way to show a demand-driven access and to hinder the industry choosing which products should be available and instead letting the clinicians make that choice. So what did we do? We did ask the Nordic Council of Ministers to fund some of it. We did that not because we didn't have the money within EU GMRI, but we did it to gain political attention. We did it to make the countries commit and dedicate to this project. And now we are 5 Nordic countries active in the group, and Greenland and the Faroe Islands are following on a more information sharing level. And we chose 7 indications. We chose these indications because they are responsible for the biggest consumption of phenoxymethylpenicillin. But not all Nordic countries do recommend phenoxy for all the chosen recommendations. And it's really important to say that this project do not wish to change the active ingredient, but we wish to make the good choice and harmonize and treat similar in order to be able to treat the future generation. So this is not a project where we'll see the effects today or tomorrow, but we'll see it in 10 years, and those are often not the most politically willed, but this we are now doing. We're where the red arrow is, so just at the beginning of the project, and by the next annual meeting I will be happy to share the success of this intervention, because we will succeed. Thank you so much, and now I'll leave the floor to my dear VP9 colleague, Alban. And I didn't press the black button.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So, among all the measures taken to fight AMR, one important thing is to maintain our antibiotics on the market. And my presentation, the objective of my presentation is to share the new regulation governing drug withdrawal from the market in France. Okay. So you know the current situation. Lack of new antibiotics threatens global efforts to contain drug-resistant infections, and our current arsenal is composed of old and very old antibiotics, so mainly old antibiotics. So we lose each year essential antibiotics with major impacts for the medical care of patients. So availability of antibiotics is compromised by the recurrent drug shortages and withdrawals of drugs from the market. What is an essential medicine? There are many definitions across countries, in various countries. In France, we have a legal definition, and essential medicines are called in France major therapeutic interest medicines. And the list of these major therapeutic interest medicines is published on the website of the French Medicine Agency. If the medicinal products fulfill the criteria of essential medicines, therefore the marketing authorization holder must comply with several obligations for the management of shortages, mandatory obligation to declare shortages, mandatory shortage management plans, and also mandatory stockpiling. Regarding withdrawal of antibiotics, you know the current situation. This situation is quite worrying. With the increasing number of drug withdrawal and the difficulties to keep some essential medicines on the market, especially antibiotics, regulations have been reinforced in France with new obligations for pharmaceutical companies. A new decree published in August 2025 imposes more stringent obligation on pharmaceutical companies that decide to stop the marketing of essential medicines in France. These measures aims to guarantee continuity of supply of essential medicines by the pharmaceutical companies and access to treatments for patients. Now you can see on the slide the withdrawal of all anti-infective drugs, not only antibiotics. Sorry for the mistake, I will update my presentation. This is the withdrawal of all anti-infective drugs. So you will see this withdrawal between 2022 and 2024. But now if we look at the distribution of this withdrawal per marketing authorization procedure, you can see in 2022 and 2023 that the majority of withdrawal were for products authorized through purely national procedure. But if we look at the 2024, you can see an increase of withdrawal for products authorized through centralized procedure. But it is mainly due to the withdrawal of antiviral drugs, not antibiotics. Now, moving on to the new regulatory framework for drug withdrawal in France. This new scheme applies to all medicines, regardless of the type of the procedure, of the marketing authorization procedure. For all medicines, 4 steps. There are 4 steps. The first step concerns all the medicines, essential medicine or not. But the following steps apply only to essential medicine no longer protected by a patent. You will see on the next slide the details of the procedure. So we start with step 1. This is the declaration of the market withdrawal by the company, by the pharmaceutical company. The pharmaceutical company must inform the French Medicine Agency of its intention to suspend or cease marketing at least 1 year before the expected date for this withdrawal. This is for essential medicine, 1 year in advance for essential medicines, and at least 2 months for the other medicines. There are additional requirements for essential medicines. If the withdrawal concerns essential medicines without intellectual property protection, the declaration must detail the foreseeable impact on patients and currently available therapeutic alternatives. Step 2. This is the analysis of the declaration received, analyzed, evaluated by the French Medicine Agency. If the therapeutic alternatives available on the market can meet the medical needs, therefore no further action is taken. Full stop. We can stop the procedure because we have alternatives. It's okay. If the available therapeutic alternatives cannot meet the needs created by the future suspension of marketing, therefore the ANSM, the French Medicine Agency, shall inform within 2 months the marketing authorization holder, who is therefore responsible for seeking a pharmaceutical company in order to transfer the marketing authorization or to find a distributor to continue the marketing of the essential medicine. Step 3 is the time for finding another company. In this case, the marketing authorization holder, who is required to seek a pharmaceutical company, shall make public its intention to concede the marketing rights or to transfer the marketing authorization by any appropriate means and publish this information on its website. The ANSM will also publish this information on its own website. And the approach for this procedure is that pharmaceutical companies must make all reasonable efforts to find another company who can continue the production and supply of the essential medicine. Within 9 months after receiving the request from the French Medicine Agency to find another company, the marketing authorization holder shall submit to the French Medicine Agency a report indicating the action taken to find another company and the reasons for accepting or refusing the offers from the other company. Step 4, last step. This is the analysis of this report submitted by the pharmaceutical company at the request of the French agency. So we will see what kind of action have been taken by the pharmaceutical company. If another company is identified, the procedure is completed, full stop. But if no company is found, and if the medical need cannot be met, the French Medicine Agency can require the marketing authorization holder to concede temporarily and free of charge to a pharmaceutical establishment owned by a public legal entity the manufacture and the marketing rights of the medicinal product for the French market. Okay? So you can understand that we will ask a public establishment to get the right for the production and for the marketing of the product. For example, this is kind of French, this public entity is connected to the hospital or implemented in the hospital. Okay, the French Medicine Agency shall transmit to that public pharmaceutical establishment the information contained in the marketing authorization dossier with the agreement of the marketing authorization holder. And the concession may end early by decision of the French agency if a pharmaceutical company places the same or similar product on the French market under conditions that ensure long-term coverage of the medical need. This is, yes, the summary of the new framework in place in France. We will see the efficacy of this new procedure in 1 year, and you understand the importance to maintain our products, or especially antibiotics, on the market, and then just to understand that after receiving the declaration of the withdrawal, in fact, we would like to continue the discussion with the company and then to try to find a solution. This is an obligation of means, but not an obligation of result. Yes, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Well, I don't see my presentation, but nevertheless, I want to confess that I am very nervous because 2 things. The first one is that I know myself very well, so Marie-Cécile, I'm afraid that I am going to be the one who press black button. Sure, I try to do my best, but nevertheless, keep this in mind. And second, I try to stay here. I need calm people to do
please, because it's really difficult to me to start here when I speak. So let's start with example from Spain. And this is quadripartite on availability of antimicrobial and alternative to antimicrobial. What is that? Well, that project was developed in the frame of our national plan, and it was because we have a big problem in relation with the gaps. We have a lot of different species, a lot of different indications with no BMPs on the market, no veterinary medicinal product on the market at all. So we are working on that, but nevertheless, we identified the problem and we thought, well, this is not only our problem, it's a common problem with other countries. So we approached to our neighbor countries, explain the project, explain the situation of the project, and try to establish a group. So we established a group with our neighbor countries, which is Portugal, France, and Ireland. Maybe you think that Ireland is not a neighbor country of Spain. I thought the same. But when I approached to the head of the agency in Ireland, he told me, yes, Cristina, we are a neighbor country of Spain. We are placed in other part of the EU, but we are neighbor of you. And I say, why not? Yes, why not? So we established this group. What was the objective of the group? Well, the objective was to address the gaps and shortage in animal health. For animal health, shortage age are important, but is more important gaps. The gap problem is really, really a big problem for us. Then the second objective was simplify regulatory process to reduce costs and encourage participation of the marketing authorization holder through one a process that we call 0 days process. Then allied the summary product characteristics of all this, the product in all the different countries, and finally use multilingual labeling and packages to facilitate cross-border availability. So the step where the first one was to identify gaps in each country. Second was identify reasons behind these gaps. Third step was to develop a list of priority products for all countries, the same list for the all countries, to elaborate an action plan and start the action plan with a pilot phase. We did this exercise for all species, all indication. Identify whether there is a veterinary medicinal product on the market, yes or no. If yes, if this product is indicated for this species, this indication, and if yes, if there is a problem, for instance, efficacy or safety problems, or whether there is a shorter age for this product. Then, if there is not product for this species, this indication, if it's possible to apply under the cascade application. There are a lot of problems to apply this cascade route because, for instance, the withdrawal period is not possible to have very long withdrawal period for milk or for eggs. So in this case, it's not possible to apply or to use this product. Or whether there is not a BMP on the market for this specific this indication, or whether there is no therapeutic solution at all. Once that we do this exercise, identify the reasons behind the gaps or the shorted age, we elaborate the priority list of product. The same product exists for the first country. we used to elaborate this list different criteria, different data, for instance, the volume of sales from the SPAC data, the potential shortage, etc. We use different criteria. And prior to start with the pilot phase, we established the criteria. Why? Because this 0 days process is very easy, is not expensive process, it's very short, 0 days process. So we have to establish the criteria in order to justify to all marketing authorization holders why this product has the possibility to go through this process, while other product is simply not possible. So the criteria are 3. The first one is that there is a gap. This is mandatory, is the first one, and all product included in this process should cover a gaps. And then we have 2 criteria that put on the market this product reduce the need for the use of antimicrobial or reduce the need to use antimicrobial in category B, which means cephalosporin 3 or 4 generation, polymyxins, and fluoroquinolones. So at least 2 out of 3, these 3 criteria must be met by the product. So the first step of this pilot phase, we focus on vaccines. So the initial list, we identify 4 vaccines, and we choose 2 of these 4 vaccines. We choose Dindoral and Gripor. Gripor is a vaccine against swine influenza. Gripor was on the market only in Portugal and in Spain, but not in Ireland and France. And Dindoral is a vaccine against hemorrhagic enteritis in turkeys. It was on the market in France, but not in the other 3 countries. So we choose these 2 vaccines. We approach to the marketing authorization holder, explain the project, and if the marketing authorization holder agree, we present 1 country as a reference country. In the case of Gripor is Spain, in the case of Dindoral, France, and present a dossier without any new data. This is the dossier, and the concerned member accept and agree with this dossier without any assessment of the data. So 0 days. I put on the table the dossier, the other countries say, okay, yes, no problem. Why? Well, because there are products that are on the market more than 20 years. The pharmacological part should be updated periodically, so no problem about that. And safety and efficacy for products that are on the market more than 20 years is proof. If there is any safety problem, any efficacy problem, we know through pharmacovigilance process. So we agree with the dossier without any problem. What we are working on now? Well, now we expand the initiative beyond immunologicals. We are working with ophthalmological product. Why ophthalmological product? You must think there are a lot of ophthalmological products on the market, and you are right. But for instance, in Spain, we have a lot of hematological products, but all of them have 3 active substances: antibiotic, antifungal, and the third one is, help me. No, anti-inflammatory. Thanks, Ivan, you are very much. So, but we don't have any product with only 1 active substance, with only 1 antibiotic. And this product with 3 active substances, all of them has polymyxin B as antibiotic. So now we are working with Portugal, because in Portugal there are a lot of ophthalmic products with only one active substance, one antibiotic, category D and C, no B, as is the case in Spain. So the next step, we are going to work with Portugal to put on the market this ophthalmological product in France, Spain, and Ireland. Then we try to broaden the cooperation with other EU countries in this process, and we allied this strategy, our strategy, with the antimicrobial CBMP strategy, which included to support or to develop action to support to put on the market alternative to antimicrobial product. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. So, I want you to think about where you're sitting right now. You're sitting in the Urania Observatory. It was opened in 1910, and it was rushed open by the government because this was the best time to observe Halley's Comet. You could only see it every 76 years. And the Austro-Hungarian government decided we are going to rush this open so that our population can look to the skies and see this scientific phenomenon. I mean, isn't that great, right? A government that encourages its population to gaze to the heavens and think about the fragility of life on our planet. So I'm going to ask you to look back a little bit as well, not as back as to 1910, but 40 years, when a new important antibiotic came on the market. And coincidentally, quite nice, the second time Halley's Comet was visible. So, I'm talking today about carbapenem resistance in the EU because DG Santé asked us in Bilbao to talk about it and to look into it. So we took up the mandate and we're looking at it. And as you can probably recall, in May 2025, there was a Health Security Committee report on the carbapenem-resistant CRD infections. Very concerning. And in this report, it said that the attributable mortality of carbapenem-resistant CRE infections, primarily due to delays in administration of effective antimicrobial therapy, as well as to the limited number of alternative and easily available treatment options. Access. We don't have access to the antibiotics that we need in order to treat these infections. So which antibiotics are those? And this is, by the way, target 5, Diamantis. So the antibiotics that we're looking at here, if you know what's susceptible, then you look for the patented antibiotics. You look for ceftazidime avibactam, meropenem vaborbactam, or cefiderocol. But often, when these patients come into hospitals, you don't know what kind of susceptibility they have. So you have to go with empiric treatment. And what is that? Well, ESCMID guidelines said aztreonam and ceftazidime avibactam in combination therapy. After these ESCMID guidelines were published, we got a new, I'm going to say new antibiotic here that was approved by EMA in 2024. That's aztreonam avibactam. And this is a combination, it's a nice combination because it stewards ceftazidime, so we don't have to use ceftazidime, it's easier to administer. But at least if we look at Norwegian official prices, it costs twice as much as aztreonam plus ceftazidime avibactam. And I must say, that takes a little bit of moxie, doesn't it? Because we've already paid our monopoly prices for aztreonam back in the 80s, and we've almost finished paying monopoly prices for ceftazidime avibactam. So now we have to pay monopoly prices again for two substances that were already in existence. And of course, a lot of countries can't afford this. So what's happened? So what we've been doing is we've done 2 surveys to look at what this means. So on the first survey, we found out that ceftazidime avibactam is basically available in all of the EU EA countries. That's great. It was approved in 2016. It's got about, if AI is correct, about 6 years of exclusivity left. It's already generic in India. So, you know, this could be quite an affordable combination. 16 out of the 27 countries said that aztreonam is an important antibiotic. So the 11 countries that said that aztreonam is not that important, 4 were unsure. Fair enough. 3 are small countries with almost no cases of carbapenem resistance. But 4 report that they had access to aztreonam avibactam, and they can afford it. And if it's marketed, of course, they should use the product that's marketed. But it's only marketed in about half of the European countries. 17 out of the 27, 63%, said that they had unreliable availability of aztreonam. So that's a huge percentage, right, for something that ECMID has said, this is what we should be using if you don't know the susceptibility. So what does this mean? Well, thank you to the ECDC for this excellent data. And what they're doing is they've been looking at the consumption of reserve antibiotics against gram-negative bacteria between 2015 and 2024. Now you see the first chart, the new anti-gram-negative antibiotics, those are the patented ones. So you can see those have increased a little bit, and ECDC says that cefiderocol is probably being used more than what you can see in this chart. The middle is monobactams. That's aztreonam. Really no change. It's not increasing, even though we see increasing numbers of CREs. But what are we using? What are countries forced to be using? Polymyxins, colistin. This is an antibiotic that was removed from the market because of toxicity in the 1980s, and we brought back because we had no alternatives. So this is their absolute last resort. And what do we know? We know the more we use an antibiotic, the faster that resistance develops. And I can tell you, there's nothing in the pipeline to replace colistin. Nothing. So what do we do if we start seeing increasing colistin resistance that probably is happening already? So what we're trying to do here in EU JAMRAI is to improve access to aztreonam. So we're working with the EMA, and we're very, very thankful for all of the support from the EMA. So what we're trying to do is notify the manufacturers and working with the EMA to identify who are the manufacturers, who's got quality supplied aztreonam out there. And then we were hoping that somebody was sitting on a stockpile of this, right? We're hoping, oh, that would be the magic solution if one of the countries had a stockpile of aztreonam. That's not the case. Nobody's sitting on a stockpile of this medicine. So we can work together to ensure better access to aztreonam. EMA is willing to bring this up at the single point of contact meeting. So we need countries who are interested, and this is important for you, to work with us. We need your support because we can identify who are the quality assured manufacturers, and we can look at things like packaging and making sure that there's an electronic leaflet available in local language, or there's a paper leaflet available, but it's a hospital antibiotic, so we can make these available to your clinicians. There are solutions out there. They're probably not optimal, but if this is something that your country is struggling with, and I think that probably the survey says many of you are struggling with us, you need to work with us so that we can bring this to the SPOC and we can start to improve the access to this antibiotic now and use less colistin, hopefully. Thank you very much. So now we're going to have a panel discussion, and now this is everyone's cue. I can't see anyone. Questions. We need questions. Yes.
Bien, I have one for Alban. Do you have concrete example when you had to ask to a public establishment when you have a shortage? Example of molecules?
You mean sample of molecules or some example of establishment who can example of molecule? Yes, as you know, the procedure has just started last summer. So we started to ask to several companies to find another company to continue the marketing after receiving the declaration of the withdrawal of the product from the market. So we have 2 or 3 antibiotics and 1 antiviral drugs, because as you know, it's for all essential medicines. I don't have exactly the name of the product, but we can share the first request from the French agency about the need to find another company to continue the marketing of essential medicines. I can share, but this is only few molecules at this step because the procedure is has just started.
So we prioritize questions from the audience, but I feel like a rock star because I can't see any of you. So if I don't hear a question, I'll just start asking questions myself. Yes?
No, it's very interesting, and thank you, Signe, for your talk. And I was wondering why, on your side, why you have shown so many dosages that were used in the Nordic countries. And if you go back on the history of that, why, on your opinion, why you had so many dosages? It was just because you had different recommendations, or before the habits of the people along the time?
Well, that's a really good question. I asked the clinicians, and well, we do not know why it's this diverse. We can also see that Denmark has really strong supply of phenoxy, but Norway doesn't, which is strange because we're the same amount of patients and we recommend it for the same indications. So we actually do not know if the recommendations came and then the availability followed, or the other way around. We definitely hope that the recommendations came first and the availability afterwards, because then this will have a major impact. But my guess is the first.
I mean, phenoxymethylpenicillin was launched in the 1950s, right? So this is a historical artifact in the fact that we've all used lots of different doses of phenoxymethylpenicillin until resistance came, and then, you didn't use as many. So it's just that the Nordic countries, we keep using it, so we keep all the artifacts, so we have all these different strengths, and so we need to harmonize. Okay, unless someone starts talking. Yes, there's someone back there.
Hi, I'm Dragomir Ivanov from Bulgaria. Thank you for the wonderful panel, really. My question is, in your cases, who the leading institution is which is pushing these processes? I mean, the ignition part, the coordination, because it is a leading process and many stakeholders are participating in this. And what the usual examples are in your cases?
Yes, this is the quite difficult situation because we have to identify which product, in case of there is no alternatives for essential medicine because there is a medical need. So there are several criteria. After in fact, the conclusion that there is a need to continue the marketing of the products. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the company to find another company. And if there is no possibility to find another company, there is no good result, no possibility to continue marketing. Therefore, we will try to ask to a public establishment implemented in the hospital, in French hospital, and ask if it is possible to market, to continue the manufacturing of the product or not. But it is not, maybe sometimes it is not possible. So this is just a solution, a discussion, an action to find solution and then to try to continue the marketing of the product. But again, sometimes it is not possible, then the procedure is ended at this time. Okay, but the fact that the need to find another company is maybe in other member states, not only in France. Voilà. And then to ask, hello, is there a company who is interested to put the product on the French market? Because we have a problem with the product, which will be disappear in the forthcoming months. So this is also to make the information publicly, and then to see if a candidate would be agreed to put the product on the French market. Why we have this kind of new regulation? Because in the past we had some difficulties to maintain the marketing of essential medicine, and we asked the company to give the access to another company who informed us that he can continue the marketing, but there was no agreement between the companies. So a new actor, the French Medicine Agency, has this possibility to ask the company that decided to stop the marketing. Then now we have to discuss, and then you have to try to find another company. So this is the approach that I try to explain, but it is totally new. So I don't have sufficient feedback at this time, and for example, we didn't receive at this time the reports submitted after 9 months after the request from the French Medicine Agency. So we have to wait for the first reports and the first discussion we will have with the company.
And at least for our initiative, maybe I misunderstood your question, but who's leading it? It's a bottom up. So in Denmark, it's State and Serum Institute together with Sundhedsstyrelsen, so our public health, 2 different agencies under the Ministry of Health that is collaborating on this initiative. And then we have this Council of Ministers where we could apply, to bring it to the top, and then they try to bring it down in the other countries. So this is a collaboration between 2 agencies.
Yes, this is a regulatory tool to try to have a discussion between several marketing authorization holders, and then to facilitate the possibility to transfer the distribution or the marketing authorization. So this is new, because before this new regulation, in the past, we don't have this kind of regulatory tool. It is not possible for us to have action and then to ask the company to discuss and then to make public this information. Now, at the request of the French Medicine Agency, therefore, there is a need to have this discussion, and then we can ask the company to start and to try to find. But again, it's an obligation of means, not an obligation of results.
Cristina? Yeah, in our case, it's in the frame of our national plan, is coordinated by the Spanish Medicinal Agency, but it's included, we try to include all the different stakeholders, as for instance, the different associations that identify the gaps and the main product that they need on the market. Then we included the association of the pharmacies companies association, etc. So we promote in the frame of this project, we promote this exercise, but we have the support of the Spanish Medicinal Agency together with the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Health.
I don't see other questions
but okay.
Thank you very much, Elisabeth Erlacher-Windel from the World Organization for Animal Health. I have a question to the French experience, because you also have the veterinary medicines. Is there any initiative to have to look at the veterinary side on the shortage, or is this only for the moment focusing for the human health sector?
Yes, this is only focusing of human medicines, because the situation for shortages and for the withdrawal for the veterinary side is quite different. Not exactly the same difficulties. They have the same problems about, but this procedure is only for human side.
But Alban, what about pricing? How does pricing come into this?
Yes, you are right, Christine, because I don't speak about pricing, but within this procedure, some companies said, okay, but the price is too low to continue the marketing, but if we can discuss an increase price, maybe we can continue the marketing of the product. And sometimes it was the case for the antibiotic, for which the last year we had difficulties about availability, clarithromycin, especially for pediatrics. And we had 3 marketing authorization holders, 3 MIH, and 2 MIH told us that they would like to withdraw the product. So in this situation in France, we will have only 1 marketing authorization holder for clarithromycin for pediatric presentation. So we discuss the procedure, this procedure, and then one of the companies said, okay, the price is too low, and would like to discuss with the economic committee for fixing the price. And then it was a successful experience, because the committee, it is totally independent from the French Medicine Agency, and totally independent. We don't have any impact of the price at the French Medicine Agency, just to inform the committee that we have a problem with this product, and maybe could you please discuss the price with the company. And for clarithromycin, yes, the price was increased, and therefore one of both companies decided to maintain the marketing of this product on the French market, and then the company withdrawn the request for stopping for the suspension of marketing of this product. So yes, during this procedure there will be discussion regarding the price. Yes or no, it's possible to increase the price, and the final decision is the decision of the company.
Yep.
Yes, Benjamin, France. Christine, just to clarify our remark, do we agree that we need to support R&D, such as new antibiotics like aztreonam, avibactam, but until then we need to give access to last resort antibiotics such as aztreonam or other old drugs, which is not something incompatible?
So I'm a big proponent of antibiotic innovation. We need new antibiotics, absolutely. But I think calling aztreonam, avibactam a new antibiotic is not the case. WHO doesn't consider it. It's not considered innovative. So we need absolutely new antibiotics. And those have to be available, and we're hoping that changes with the pharma legislation will improve the access of both of new antibiotics, because they are not wide. Unfortunately, it takes quite a bit of time for some new antibiotics to be available across European countries. So absolutely we need it, but in the meantime, we've got a CRE problem. And we shouldn't be waiting for access to the right antibiotics in order to manage this problem.
Thanks. My question's for Spain. If I understood correctly, you are, like with the vaccinations, you're prioritizing one for 4 countries. But do you not receive backlash from the companies that produce competitive, and how do you deal with that? If you have other companies that produce a competitive vaccine, and you've chosen against it, do you not have some backlash from them?
Yeah, in this specific case, there is not other product on the market, other vaccines. There are the only one. But nevertheless, we receive one complaint for one company, and this company have no vaccines like that, but nevertheless, they ask about the process and why this process, etc. So we approached this company, we explained the project, we involved in this part of the project in order to let them know that it's possible for them, even for them, if they have a product that fulfills the criteria, etc. But at this point, we are focused on the pilot phase. We are focused only in these 2 vaccines, only on the ophthalmological. But no more compliance. We receive no more compliance for other companies because we developed a workshop together with the companies in order to explain since the beginning the project.
Cristina, what about if companies in the audience want to join? Are they welcome? Or if countries want to join and get access to these 2 vaccines, are they welcome?
Yes. As Ireland, you have the possibility to be a neighbor country of Spain. So yes, absolutely.
We're all your neighbors. No questions now? No? There is one online. Okay.
Thank you, Marie-Cécile. So yes, we have a question online. Sorry, I'm messing with my mouse. So it's a question from Val Fraser. It's about how align our national process to introduce or withdraw products in Europe, and are there opportunities there to increase collaboration, European collaboration, or to, so I don't know who should answer that.
I guess I would say that health is still a national competency. So things are very country by country. But I think one of the things that we've been trying to do, and maybe Sofia, maybe you want to answer this question about the work that you've been doing in Sweden, looking at vulnerability assessment. Or, sorry, okay, I won't throw it at you. But I just think that some one of the webinars that we've held and we've been trying to make apparent for the participants of Work Package 9 is how can we predict a product that is likely to want to withdraw from a market? You want to go?
Yeah, sorry, I just needed a moment to think what Christine was talking about. Yes, but in Sweden we have done an assessment of products that are likely to withdraw from the market. Okay, should I stand here? Okay, so, okay, yeah, in the... so we looked at all pharmaceutical medicines, and we saw that sales, the yearly sales was the biggest indicator of when a product was likely to leave the Swedish market or being deregistered. So sales below 1 million Swedish crowns, which is 100,000 euros approximately per year, then that seems to be a bit of a magical line in Sweden, where we saw products being at risk. And a lot of the older antibiotics in Sweden sell for less than that. So it's really good to have this predictor to kind of see what products that are at risk. And we actually have, the Public Health Agency has published a list as well, where we have looked at these, specifically for antibiotics with a vulnerable supply. So we have looked at all antibiotics that have a sales less than 3 million Swedish crowns, so 300,000 euros. And we have asked clinicians to rate them as well, to what clinical importance do they have. So this has given us a list of I'm not sure how many medicines are there. We're actually updating this list as part of our national efforts in JAMRAI, one of the things that we do. And we have also gotten feedback from companies that this list that is published on our website, it has helped, feedback from industry, it has helped some of the national companies advocate to keep this product on the market, on the Swedish market, to their global counterparts. So it actually has had an impact on access on the Swedish market. So yeah, it's an interesting example and something that we will continue with now. Yeah.
And hopefully other countries will adopt.
Exactly.
To be proactive.
Exactly. It's a proactive measure.
Thank you, Sofia. Sorry for pulling you from the sidelines. So a last question to each of the panelists. What has EU JAMRAI money meant for these actions? Signe.
Okay, well, of course it meant that I gained a job, so that was good. No, I think it means that we can communicate internally. We have seen that the different agencies or do not communicate as well as we could to achieve the same goal. We're all in our own silos, just driving our own cars over the bridge. But we could, with this money, we hope that some of it will get out of it will be that we can sometimes take the same car to pass the bridge. So it's we really try to build on the communication internally in the country between the different agencies trying to achieve the same goal.
So it's facilitated national stakeholders to work together.
You can say that too, yeah.
in an electric car.
Yeah, windmills.
I think two important things. The first one is to share the same difficulties, and I think it's in the past what it was difficult is when we had difficulties, we don't know the situation in other member states. So it is difficult to find solution because there is no discussion between member states on the same difficulties. So by this exercise, we can share these difficulties, and we will see the example of Astreonam. And this is a very important point, to have this visibility and to know how to exchange information and then to improve the situation. And the second thing is, in fact, to keep and to receive the best idea, the best process in other countries, and then maybe to implement the same process already in place in other member states. And yes, this is very important because in France, we don't have some facilities, some that you have in other countries. This is, for example, you speak about the price, but for example, when we ask the company, okay, please submit a marketing authorization dossier at the request of the French Medicine Agency, there is no, for example, decrease of the fees, for example. There is no tools to accompany, to discuss with the company. So I think that this is in place in other countries, and we would like to implement the same procedure in France. I have already discussed with Denmark. We started a day zero procedure with a product from Denmark. This is the tuberculin test, because we lose in France the only one tuberculosis test from Sanofi, which decided to stop the marketing. Therefore, there is a need to find another similar tuberculin test, and we start a zero-day procedure with Denmark as a reference member state very quickly, as already explained, and it's fine because this is a very old product already authorized in many countries in Europe for many years, so no difficulties to register very quickly this test without starting a new evaluation. There is no need. So this is a very good example, especially for tuberculosis, because we have some difficulties with products against tuberculosis.
Cristina.
Well, communication is really important and support the project. So I think that EU JANRAI help us to promote and to support the project and try to as Alban said, try to share with other member states because the problem is more or less the same. For instance, we plan to have a workshop, as you know, in Madrid, in Spain this year, in order to present this project to other countries, EMA and other stakeholders, together with Work Package 9, and try to focus in the next step with more people and more resources to achieve more product on the market.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. If anyone's interested in learning more about access or has questions, please contact one of us. Thank you.